As a lot of you may know, I went to PAX East in Boston as a content creator and was cordially invited by the Dead Island 2 booth to do about an hour's worth of gameplay in the game's early playtest build about a month before it came out. In this video, I'll go over my experiences with the game itself and my thoughts about things like combat, dialogue, graphics, and so on. As a huge fan of Techland's Dead Island and Riptide, along with Dying Light 1 and 2, I was quite excited about playing Dead Island 2, which has basically been in development hell for the past decade, and as a result, has lost a lot of public interest due to not a lot of news or things released about it. Fortunately, a new developer studio called Deep Silver Dambuster took it up, and here we are in 2023 at PAX. Walking past some people who were at the Dead Island 2 booth, I heard conversations where one person didn't like the combat because it felt clunky, while the other two people were chatting excitedly about looking forward to the release after playing the demo, so suffice to say, I was very curious to finally get my hands on the game. Immediately, the demo thrust me into a mission where I played as Amy, one of the available Dead Island 2 characters players can pick for a playthrough. There are other characters like Bruno, Carla, Danny, Jacob, and Ryan, with each character having their own skills and specializations with different aspects of combat such as melee weapons, firearms, stamina usage, and so on. The mission involved me going through a sort of Left 4 Dead 2 carnival area where I encountered a bunch of zombies plus a clown zombie while needing to retrieve the necessary stuff to complete this quest. Immediately, the UI and combat fundamentals were very familiar, such as a stamina bar that drained with each weapon swing or with each running footstep. Weapon customization was all there, such as attaching blowtorches to the head of a fire axe painted with the American flag. Very American. The combat tactile feel felt a lot closer to Dying Light 1 and the original Dead Island. Unlike the Dying Light series, the first Dead Island and Riptide sort of embraced the ridiculousness of a zombie apocalypse, much like how the Zombieland films did. So the combat from Dead Island 2 does the same, albeit not too cartoonishly, and unlike Dying Light 2, which I felt like took itself a bit too seriously, was too rugged for what players desired from combat, when combined with the physics and the jankiness of the system overall in the game, the hour of Dead Island 2 felt much more enjoyable to me than the 30 hours I put into Dying Light 2, at least combat-wise. I think if you're more into parkour and a hell lot of looting, for sure Dying Light 1 and 2 are enjoyable, but for Dead Island 2, if you're more into the action RPG element and a much better combat experience, then you'll probably wait for Dead Island 2 to come out here pretty soon. Weapon swapping while moving was very smooth, inventory UI was as straightforward as you can get. Crafting seemed like an investment at first glance in terms of materials, and some of the more special zombies, like the thugs, weren't too much of a hell sponge combat-wise, at least in this demo. I did see another special zombie type return, the Suiciders, although in this game they seemed a bit more bulbous and fatter. The skills and ability system was also pretty straightforward and definitely stylistic, perhaps borrowing from Back 4 Blood's card system aesthetics. I think probably the clunkiest part of the combat system after playing it was the gunplay, but this may have been because the character I was playing wasn't specialized in firearm combat. If I had to describe the feel of handling and shooting the guns at zombies in the PAX East demo, I would liken it to either a Resident Evil game or the original Dead Island. Just a side note here that I did try both the mouse and keyboard and the controller setups, and I felt pretty much the same about the combat overall, despite whichever setup I went with. The sounds of the zombies lunging and diving at you as you sliced, bashed, shot, and hit through them, or got hit by them, were really on point. I immensely enjoyed the sounds, and at least in the game time I had, I didn't notice any annoying sounds like I did in Dying Light 2, where after you sneak up on a zombie and snap their neck, they release the most wretched guttural sound after they die, for some reason. The visual effects of the weapon impacts, curb-stomping heads, the environmental damage you could cause or use to your advantage, and the absolutely visceral amount of gore made the gameplay a huge blast to play, and I gotta hand it to the developers who took care of the audio and the video effects for sure on this one. Graphics-wise, because I know a lot of people are sticklers for graphics, it's definitely, of course, a big improvement over the original Dead Island from 2011. And in a really bizarre way, the graphics were absolutely beautiful. And I would say bizarre because there were so many disfigured zombies coming at me while limbs, decimated bodies, and heads were flying as my character desperately tried to make her way to the Ferris wheel. I'm not exactly sure what the specs were on the computer I was playing the game on, but I didn't really experience any stutters or FPS losses, although take that with a grain of salt because again, I had only about an hour's worth of gameplay. But perhaps one of the most annoying things I've encountered with some games, especially open world ones, is unoptimized areas or lightings where it basically makes you reset the game due to too much FPS loss, and it seems Dead Island 2 will solve this problem by not actually being an open world game, but more so a game with various instances and maps you have to load through too. This of course brings me to the thing about the base hub, where it seems you can customize your own base hub with both people and other things you can collect throughout your game time. Apparently the base hub is the home of a former Hollywood actor, which confirms that the setting of Dead Island 2 is not an island, but California, or more specifically Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, and so forth. In terms of the dialogue from the characters, I felt like that was great. I think the voice acting was superb. I think if I was given more time at the booth, or maybe several more hours with the game, I think maybe the novelty of some of the combat system or even the game itself may have worn off, but I do think it has a lot of potential to be fun, and I see a long-term potential in its fun and replayability enjoyment coming from a co-op mode with friends, more so than me playing by myself. But anyway, that was my experience and review of Dead Island 2 from my early playtest of the game at PAX East 2023 in Boston. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Definitely do subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more early playtest and stuff in the future. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.